Hey guys, I'm going to talk about working at In-Depth Sculpture Studio. They are in Philly, or at least they used to be. I haven't been able to find them online recently, but this is a sculpture studio that I worked for a little while in 2013, I think it was. And so they tended to make some giant installations that would go in like museums and children's gardens, and they also did some miniatures that also went into like different museums and things. So they did some really cool stuff, and I'm just going to go through the pictures that I took and talk to you about what the heck we did while we were there and why we're probably going to get cancer. So this is the shop, looking down on the shop from like the second floor-ish storage area. So one of the big projects that we had that you'll see is this giant thing for a children's garden down in Texas. So we had these giant terracotta pots and giant flowers and plants that went into those pots. So you'll see all that kind of stuff. That's really cool. This little yellow thing down here, this is just a welding shield. When you're welding, you can get cataracts in your eyes if you look at the actual like burst of light itself. So you want to shield other people from accidentally looking at it. That's why you have to wear a mask when you do welding. So that's what that is. But here we've got all these metal flowers, which are the ones that went into these big terracotta pots, which were actually just made of resin and fiberglass mostly. So yeah, that's part of the shop. Here's another view of the shop. The other one that I'm going to talk about is this Berenstain Bears exhibit that we did. That was actually for a bank. So we had to do part of a tree because the Berenstain Bears lived in a tree. So we have this giant trunk here, and we added texture to it and everything. You can walk through it. There's little activities and stuff. It's got these branches coming out the sides here. It looks kind of awkward, but once it was installed in place, it looked pretty cool. And then over here we have just some corn stalks. I forget if that also goes with the children's thing, the children's garden thing, or if they were separate. I kind of forget. But yeah, so let's look at some stuff. The Berenstain Bears interactive exhibit. I should find out what bank it is. We'll see a picture of it. I forget what bank it is, but there's like a whole room that they wanted to have an interactive thing for kids to learn about money and mail and all that kind of stuff. So here's a picture of like when they were just building the tree itself, the portion of the tree. So it's made mostly just of wood. I wasn't there in time to see them build it totally from the ground. This is when I saw it. And so you've got some foam up here, just like to give you kind of a shape that you can put plaster and stuff on top of. And then this right here is supposed to be basically an armature, basically to like hold a branch out. So the branch, if it's too heavy, it doesn't just fall off. You've got this like metal pole and some wood supporting the branch, keeping it from falling off. So here's another view of it. You've got little interactive, like little windows here with little games or whatever, and you can walk in and around the tree. Here we're starting to, well, here in the front, you've got a giant garden tool that went with our children's garden thing for Texas. So that's a giant little shovel. It's a giant little shovel is what I said for a garden. But then back here is again the Berenstain Bears thing. So at this point we had started putting, there's a little like tunnel that you can climb through, which is great. At this point we started putting the cardboard, basically tubing that they use to cast pillars and things in concrete. That's what they use. We kind of cut those up and made sort of the basics of like a bark texture for the wood. There's just another shot of that. You've got some more things added onto the extensions for those branches. And so here I helped. I pretty much did the texture myself. We did what was called a hot mix, I think is what the other lady was referring to it as. So I think it was joint compound and some plaster and then one or two other things that were all just mixed together, and then we applied it. It basically worked like plaster, but it was a little bit more, I don't know, I don't even have the word for it. A little bit more acrylic-y, I guess. But anyway, so it's supposed to be a birch tree, so I figured out how to make a nice birch tree texture using like a wire brush and some spackling knives and things. And we had a couple little, there's going to be like little animals or something in these little peepholes, so we made those too. So there's a close-up of the texture that I came up with for a birch tree. This is not accurate coloring for a birch tree, but that's what it was, I guess, in the Berenstain books. And that's sort of what I got going on with the hot mix that we had. This is the final pretty much the final tree in the bank. My coworker Sam is back here offering her words of encouragement via the middle finger. But yeah, so this is how it kind of looked. We painted it and did all kinds of like texturing on it and stuff. And so this is it in the actual room in the bank. I wasn't a big fan of this idea. Like, so I guess the idea is that the branches are going up into the ceiling and like these discs are supposed to refer to like the leaves and stuff that would be above there. It doesn't really make sense to me. I don't know. But yeah, so there's like paintings on the wall and stuff. There's all kinds of, there's a big room. I don't know if I should have gotten pictures of like the whole thing set up. There was this cute little thing where you could, put something into a little tube and it would shoot across the room to the other one, sort of like those, when you go to the drive-through bank, and you shoot the money and stuff through that little tube. They had something like that there for the kids to play with, which is fun. Oh yeah, you can see the tube coming around here. Yeah. So we were like on location, installing this thing. And so at one point, this is the same room, basically, some of the other activities the kids have. And so while we were installing it, at some point, two people showed up dressed as two of the Berenstain Bears. I guess, I don't know, like, there weren't any kids there or anything. It was just like us, like contractors, like setting up a big sculpture. But these guys showed up, and then they started, like, she went after him with a hammer. Yeah, I don't know. Weird family stuff, I guess, going on there, whatever. Here are a couple more shots from the installation of the Berenstain Bears tree. So this is the room. It's not that big of a room, so it's kind of hard to get good pictures. This is sort of like the right side of the tree. There's an entrance there you can walk in. There's some kind of like piggy bank pinball setup right here that somebody's doing. Here's this tube again that you could send messages from one side of the room to the other, sort of like at a bank, basically, because this was set at a bank. So yeah, that's the one side. There's a little closer up once we started to clean up some of our crap that was all in the way. So here's even more on the right side. So you've got like a nice little mural over here. We didn't do that ourselves. There's supposed to be like little bank teller setups here. This is our mixer for all of our like plaster and joint compound and that kind of stuff. It's good to have a mixer to keep it moving so it doesn't set when you're not ready for it to set. So here's some more pictures so we could walk inside that tree, and I did some texturing and stuff on the inside of that tree. This is the right side, to the right of the giant tree. So like I said, you've got these like bank teller stations here, which is kind of cute. And again, this message sending system that somebody else had put in there. And then these were little shades on the windows, that message system. And then we had like another small thing here in the corner that we had done. Yeah, so, and the ground was that like cushiony kind of rubber type stuff that they have at, some playgrounds and tracks and stuff. So we put down some of that stuff ourselves because we've worked in that material before. The lighting was kind of cute once we got the finalized lighting in there. This is a little tunnel that you can crawl through to get into the tree, which was basically supposed to be the mint, I guess, where all the coins were being made. So yeah, there's a little like porthole there. And so I was working on the texture. I was helping paint it, doing some detail lines on some of the branches. I helped with the letters here and putting together basically the whole tree. That's one of my coworkers there in the corner. So there's my fun coworker Sam working on the little tunnel thing. Yeah, it was a pretty cool project to be involved with. Again, that lighting was actually pretty nice once it got going. And then we've got little coins here that we painted eventually, little coins that were hanging out on that little tunnel. Again, like I said, I don't understand what they were going for with this aesthetic up here with these like little discs, but whatever, not my thing to worry about. This is all the stuff that was to the left of the big tree. So again, some kind of like teller setup, I guess, for a bank. It's just supposed to be, the whole thing is supposed to be an educational display for kids. And it's set at a bank, so it's all about like money and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, there were these people that showed up dressed up as the Berenstain Bears at one point, and I don't know why, because it was just us contractors, like there were no children around. But she was like pretending to work on stuff, so that's cute. And this is part of the mural that is there behind her, so somebody else had done that. That wasn't us. Yeah, and that's the Bear Country Credit Union. Oh, it's the Franklin Mint Federal Credit Union. So I actually should look up some pictures and see if they have any up there. So this was another thing that we did for the same project. This is kind of like the finalized painting on one of the pieces, which is kind of nice. And so one of the other things that we had for Berenstain Bears was just like a little sculpture, a relief sculpture is what it's called. So it's flat-ish, but it has raised areas and lower areas. And so one of the best things you can use really is just insulation foam, which you can get at Lowe's or Home Depot. It's foam that's intended to be used for houses, but it's also really, really great for sculpture. You can sand it down. It's very fine. It's a very fine texture. You can sand it down really easily, and then you can just apply, plaster or whatever the heck you want on top of it. And then your sculpture is not only really light, but, it was cheap and it was easy to make, rather than starting with like a big sheet of stone or casting a big sheet of plaster and then carving that away. No, it makes a lot more sense to do it out of the insulation foam. So the other guy that was working there, he was able to just do the drawing and then kind of build up and work away certain areas. So that's a picture of it from the side. You can get a couple sheets of this insulation foam and back it up, glue them to each other to get some thickness there. So that's called a relief sculpture. So there was a turtle that In Depth made for the Camden Aquarium, which is pretty cool. I forget what his name is. I don't remember what his name is. But, so they made him as like a decorative thing, but the Camden Aquarium decided that they moved it or something, and a bunch of kids started singing on it and getting pictures on it and stuff, but it wasn't built to hold the weight of a child, so it broke. This is its previous shell right here. It just broke. It got worn down and broke. So they sent the turtle back to us to give him a new shell that was reinforced and stuff. So, yeah. It's pretty cute though. Planets. So these are planets that I worked on. They had to do some kind of planet setup for a planetarium. So this is Sam over here working also. So we've got these globes that end up getting painted, mostly airbrushed to look like planets. I was working with Bondo, which is a material that they use to repair cars. It's like an automotive putty kind of stuff. And so I was using that to attach the ring and to even out the texture and stuff. Because they had made them too small, then they had to chop them in half and then make them bigger, and then they had that gap between the two halves that we had to fill in with the Bondo. It was really tedious work. So there you can see, I think this is Mercury maybe, and then one of these was going to be the Earth. This is Mars, I believe. But again, I helped do some base coat painting on them, and then this woman that was there that was the official painter, she did some of the airbrushing details on top. That's Jupiter, which was very well done. So here we have Saturn. There's Jupiter in the background. We saw a little bit of Jupiter. Here's Earth. I have some close-up shots of Earth. So there they are, just hanging out in our shop, getting painted and whatnot. Here's the Earth, the final painting on the Earth, which is pretty nice looking. So now let's get to the big project, the Children's Garden in Texas that I was talking about. So yeah, looking down on the, this is the picture you saw before, looking down on the whole shop. So we've got these giant terracotta pots. We had three of them, and then one that was super big that was kind of bisected so you could see inside. So with those, I was working with resin and fiberglass. Resin's really toxic though. You use acetone as a solvent to kind of break it down. You've got to wear a gas mask, but gas masks don't really fit my face very well. I have a child-sized face for some reason, and they don't make child-sized gas masks because child's is the plural of child, and they're not supposed to work, apparently. There's something against child labor, I don't know. So they don't make gas masks in children's size, so I don't get a gas mask that works for me. So working with resin and acetone, I get lightheaded. So, but anyway, that was a long tangent. These pots were made out of resin and fiberglass, kind of like how some boats are made, or the molded, a hot tub. Those are often resin and fiberglass. So there's me with my purple hair at the time on top of one of these terracotta pots. So that gives you a sense for how big this thing is. That and the ladder right there is yeah, it's pretty big. So I was up there doing there's sort of fake gravel type stuff that they wanted to get in there. So I was working on that. Here's just another picture of the big terracotta pots. And then here in the back we have the beginnings of some of the flowers that were to go in the pots. So these are metal stems and leaves that were welded together, and then I did some angle grinding and stuff to kind of smooth them and stuff, and then we ended up painting them. Again, there's just a close-up of the terracotta pot. There's that dude, he was pretty chill, Will, I think his name was. So yeah, so we had, these are the bases that the pots go on. So we had 3 of those terracotta pots, and then we have this 4th one, which is meant to be open somewhat because it's going to have a big plant in it, but you're also going to see like the roots of the plant, and it's going to be some kind of interactive thing where you push a button and you can see like what's supposed to be water, I guess, coming down and going through the roots or something like that. You could there's like LEDs and roots and stuff going on, so that one's kind of cool. Yeah, so that's the one that I'm talking about. So it has a plant here, and then there's going to be these 2 panels. I believe I have those in. I believe I have pictures of those. These 2 panels that have like the roots. So those are those flower stems again. So we've got flower stems and leaves that were welded together. I think it's just standard steel. They're not aluminum. So they were pretty heavy. But yeah, then I angle grinded them together and used a little Bondo, again, that automotive putty type stuff, to kind of smooth them enough before we started to paint them. And so painted, they look like this. So we got some nice airbrush stuff going on there. I did a lot of the, like, since I was kind of new there, I did a lot of the grunt work. So I did a lot of just like flat color painting, and then what's her name would come in and do some of the airbrush type work. So there's some closer up images of those leaves. Closer up image. And these are the flowers that would go on those stems. So we had a couple different types of flowers, whatever. Those are daisies. The other ones, I don't know, whatever. I'm not a flower person. But yeah, so those were also made of metal, pretty sharp. And I got to do a lot of painting of those, which was really annoying. But yeah, some flat painting and then the airbrush on top. So there's a little close-up. You'd be surprised how easily it can get just like really gunked up and really messy and stuff. It's hard not to have any drips or anything, and like, ugh, it got kind of annoying. So at one point we realized that some of our paint was coming off in transit to Texas. Like while the materials were in the truck on their way, the paint started to chip off. I'm thinking it was temperature related thing. And also we probably weren't using the right paint. I feel like paint that you use on metal needs to be enamel, and it's likely going to be really toxic stuff. I mean, that's what they use on cars. But anyway, so all the stuff got sent back to us, and we had to remove the paint that was still on some of the pieces. And so this is what happens when you apply a paint stripper to the kind of paint that we had used. So it makes that paint kind of like shrivel up in like a weird, crazy way. So lots of toxic things all around. There are some of the flowers, finished or almost finished, put together. So each of those was about 8 feet tall, I want to say, something like that. There's Sam right here. Sam is kind of short like me. She's like 5 feet or something like that. So maybe these were like 7 feet, something like that. There's some more close-ups of the flowers. We also had some mushrooms going. Those were really cute. I liked working on the mushrooms. We had a set of like 3 of those or whatever. And you can kind of see the little decals here. So they put stickers basically on top of the mushroom and then painted, and then we're able to take the sticker off, and you've got that white spot there for the spots on the mushrooms. There we go. See? Yay! Little mushrooms. These are the giant garden tools that go with that Texas children's garden thing. So yeah, these were freaking huge. So I did a lot of like resin and fiberglass on them, a lot of angle grinding on them, some painting and stuff. Yeah, we had some issues with the handles and whatnot, but there's just the frame for a little butterfly that's going to go into the garden. Is that me? Is that me in the background? Or did I take this picture? I don't know. We also made giant leaves of grass, and these are actually just made out of PVC pipe. So you can cut PVC pipe, and then if you warm it, you can get it to bend. And so they made all of these. We made all of these grass stems, and so I did a lot of sanding, the fucking sanding of those things just for hours on end, just like fixing up the edges and shaping them and stuff. That oh. These are two little saplings that are going with that whole setup. And again, I don't know if these corn stalks were a separate thing. I forget if they were a separate commission or if they were part of the garden thing. But these are corn stalks. Again, metal, and you've got a lot of this Bondo there because they're putting like a little vein on the inside of the leaves. I also helped putting like a dirt texture down here. We had some like ground up rubber, kind of like the stuff that they put at some like tracks, like for track and field, like that bouncy kind of rubber that you can run on. We had little ground up bits of that we mixed with this really toxic glue to put all over the base here, as if it's like soil or something. Here's a smaller little guy of flowers. And then you can see Jupiter in the background there of the planets that I showed you. Animals! The studio made a lot of animals, which were really cute. A lot of them had little armatures in them, especially this bee. So you can see he's got a metal armature in him. And then usually it's some kind of like plaster mix-up. Not a whole lot of actual plaster content, like plaster and joint compound and a bunch of different stuff. They had like their proprietary recipes for this kind of stuff. But that's a giant bee, so I think that's probably for the flowers and the terracotta pots and stuff. This was a little owl. This was for like a museum exhibit or something. So you've got this little owl, and he's got all his little eggs in his nest, in his little hole. Oh, he's so cute. Oh, look at him. I always had to snag pictures here like really quick and hope that no one was looking because I got in trouble for taking pictures. But anyway, that's a close-up of the owl. Pretty good painting on him. I could have done that. I wish they didn't trust me with a whole lot because I was new and like young and whatever, but I could have done a lot more than they were letting me. You also notice here is some more of this insulation foam that is being used for a base for like some grass and stuff. It works the same as like floral foam. But anyway, yeah, the owl is really cute. He's really cute. Here's another owl that we were working on. Real cute, just sitting on a piece of PVC pipe, but cute little sleeping owl. And then there's a little squirrel there too, who got finally painted up, which is cute. This is a little groundhog. No, it's a beaver. It's a beaver. Yep, it's a beaver. This is Tank. Tank is the shop dog. She can't be with us anymore. She can't possibly be with us anymore. That poor girl. She was so old and so... Oh, she was just an old, wonderful dog. I think she was deaf. Like, she was a mess, but we loved her. She's great. Tank. She was a tank. Really, she was a tank. So, somebody's welding, she'll just walk right through. She doesn't even care. This is a little prairie dog that was being made by the one guy. There's a guy who works there who does a lot of the animals. He's from some Eastern European country. I'm not sure where. But he was a pretty cool dude, and he did a lot of the little animal sculptures. He was pretty good at that. This is a wolf that was like hanging out in the corner. It was kind of dusty. I don't know what the story was with that, but this was like a little diorama kind of thing with the wolf. That's it from above. So he's supposed to have gotten a dead bird, I guess, or he killed the bird to make it dead. Obviously, you can see little fingerprints back here. Like, it's that dusty. So I don't know what this was, if this was like a demo piece or something that they did, and so it didn't end up in a museum. I don't know, or it just came back. Maybe, I don't know what happened with it. But there's the wolf again. This is one of these big drum barrels that we have full of like acetone and various chemicals and stuff. More of a close-up of the wolf. Oh, little foxy dude. No. I feel like his front legs are a little too thin at the place where they meet the body. I still think that. I thought that then, and I still think it now. But anyway, yeah, so that's a little foxy dude. Oh, he's like asking for a dog treat or something. And then doing like a, this is maybe before, This looks like maybe this was the point when it was being built up, and then this was like a primer coat or something back here. But yeah, so cute, cutie. Look at that tail, fluffy tail. This thing in the back, I had a good hand in, and it's very ugly. It's supposed to be some kind of like map of different types of rock in the earth, like a slice of the earth, like different types of rock or something. And so we put the texture on, and then I got to paint it all. It was like a paint by numbers or whatever, but it was really boring, and I think it looks really ugly. I don't know if they did anything else with it past that, but yeah. By the way, we got some shop machines there. We got the little foxy dude. Zoo stuff. There's a bunch of zoo stuff that we did. So there was an exhibit that was at the Philly Zoo. I think it was a traveling exhibit that was like, it was like Legos, like all the animals were made out of Legos. And so they sent that whole exhibit to us to be like refurbished, basically. So this guy came. Every individual piece has to come in a crate like this. Every sculpture, everything that goes in and out of a shop like this has to be in a crate of some kind to keep it safe, basically, and keep it from breaking. And so this is the crate, and we took the front off, and we had this guy inside. So he's made entirely of Legos. So I got to clean him and play around with the Legos and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, I'm getting paid to play with Legos. Ah! Look at me with my Bachelor of Fine Arts playing with Legos for a living. Ah! But yeah, anyway. There's also another exhibit, or was that part of the same exhibit? This was the Philly Zoo also, but I'm not sure if this was a separate exhibit than the one with the Legos. No, yeah, this was with the Legos, because there's another little Lego scene in here. Yeah, so that came in with the Lego pieces, and I had to just do a bunch of cleaning and like spot painting and stuff like that to kind of fix it up after being, outside for however long. This is a gorilla thing for the Lego exhibit that you could like put your head in and get pictures or whatever. It's kind of cute. There's one day that we spent at the actual Philly Zoo, and so I got this charming picture of this gentleman here, very handsome. He's thinking about things. Oh, oh boy. So, it was interesting because we were at the Philly Zoo and they didn't give me any kind of badge or anything showing that I was a contractor. I was just dressed normally. Well, I was dressed in like, dirty clothes that have paint and stuff all over them. But like they didn't give me any kind of identification, and yet I'm running around the zoo and I'm like fixing up signs and like I'm brushing off rust and like applying different metal, stuff to different signs and stuff, and I'm just running around without any identification, and nobody stopped me, and nobody was like, hey, what are you doing? You're halfway into the turtle exhibit there. And I was like in the turtle exhibit there. I had to, but I was not really afraid that these guys were going to come running after me for pretty clear reasons. I did not fear for my life when I was in there working on their sign. But it was cool to see them. Wilma, Betty, Grunt, Tweedle. Good Lord. Oh, Jesus. Some of these were born in 1971. Anyway. So I met them and hung out with them for a little bit. That was fun. Here's some miscellaneous stuff. We went to Sesame Street. Not Sesame Street. Sesame Place. Is that what it is? It's an amusement park that's all Sesame, and so I got to do a bunch of painting there on different, like, just refurbishing stuff, and then I also got to work on, this is a friggin' roller coaster, and I got to work on it. I got to, like, do some paint jobs and stuff on it, which is friggin' awesome. Yeah, so that was a really cool day. It's always cool when you get to, like, leave the shop and go to a friggin' amusement park and, like, fix up rides, and, like, yeah, that's pretty cool. This was one that they were doing that I had nothing to do with. This was like a Sword in the Stone kind of scenario or something. So I guess there's some kind of like sword or something here, and then this was like the stone that the sword was in. Man, kind of bore me. These are the things for various museums that they actually put those different animals in. So the owl this might have been the owl's hole, the owl that I showed you. There's another one of those for like, any creatures that have little burrows. This is a little sculpture that was in the foyer of the studio. I don't really know much of anything about it, but it's in miniature, which is nice. So you've got all these little, you've got that tree on top, and then you've got all these little mice inside there. and they're like playing pool and stuff. Again, super dusty because it's been there forever and nobody cleans that place, but that was really cute. So yeah, so that's all the pictures that I managed to get of In Depth, and that's some of the work that I did while I was there. I'm sure if I was there longer, I would have, you know, they would have trusted me a little bit more and given me more to do than just like sanding and painting and that kind of stuff. But it was still a really good experience to have. Gave me a taste for working in a sculpture studio. So yeah, that was awesome. I hope that was cool for you too.